So, all right, so here we go. Here's the second video of two, number one and number two. And one of the subjects we're talking about is listening. And David just was doing a muted chop, and you listen carefully, and you'll hear different tones. Because a lot of times people, when they talk about the XY position, they'll think that the X is here and the Y is here, and they'll literally be playing along, and I can tell in their minds they're going, hey, I've been in this X position for a while, I'll just go to Y. And as they're playing, you can tell they're not paying any attention to the music. So as you play, listen very carefully. Now, the first time I saw Earl Scruggs play on TV, he looked very sad, and the reason he looked sad was he was totally concentrating on each note, no matter what you're doing. So you're listening to the band, you're listening to the bass. Hopefully the bass is playing correctly. You're trying to make sure there's a muted chop in there. You're listening for the chord changes. You're listening to your volume to make sure you're not overriding everything, because the banjo is a very loud instrument. And the last thing I was going to say is people are going, gee, I really want to be able to create breaks on the fly, melody breaks. And the truth is that's a fairly difficult thing to do. You have to play for years. So the type of breaks you have is you're sitting in the jam session, it's your turn to play, and we're going to play Blue Ridge Cabin Home. So what you can do is play what's called a placeholder break. Now, one of them would be, there's a well-beaten path on this old mountainside where of course, there wouldn't be vocals at that time, but you can actually play the fifth, the third, and the first string. Now, it's important that it be the fifth, third, and first, and not the second. And you can play patterns and not even change chords. So, and we'll demonstrate that in a minute with David playing guitar so you can hear the changes. The second one would be the rolls with chords. So, Blue Ridge Cabin Home. Then goes to C, D, okay, and then you have just a lick break where you just play like, okay, we've got two measures of G, so we play a G lick. Then there's two measures of C. Then now what's happening is when you're playing your break, the singer has just sung the song, so the melody notes are in the listener's head. So even if you're playing something like, which is I'm playing a string, then I'm playing two rolls. I'm sorry, playing five notes. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, okay? In fact, we'll test your camera and just do a close-up of my right hand if you would. And we'll come over here. There we go. So I'm playing a string and then doing two rolls. I'm sorry, five notes. Okay, then you can pan out, and then I'll do the same pattern playing a chord down here, and go. And I go to D. Okay, so what it sounds like is. Then the other thing is you have what's called a memorized break, where you'll play something like Scruggs. That's not exactly what he played, but you basically get a piece of a tablature and you learn it. Now, the situation with learning something note for note is it takes me 20 hours to learn a break. It takes you 20 hours if you memorize it. So you probably don't have enough time in your life to memorize all the songs that you want to learn. So you, when you're in the jam, you start with the simple place holding, then you add chords, then you might do licks, might memorize a break. That's level 4. And then the last level is you might actually take the melody and work with that melody. Now this is going to take hours and hours, and you probably would do better if you had a teacher showing you this, but you just take the melody notes and you play rolls, and you just, through trial and error, you try to come up with a melody break. Now we're going to pull the camera back a little bit because David's going to come back and sit in that chair, and we're going to play a couple songs. And before we start and he comes over here, David will now make his closing remarks. This is kind of like the presidential debate. David, anything that you wish to say or that I didn't cover?
The biggest thing that came out of this last, for me, the biggest thing that came out of this last banjo clinic that we did was listening to what everybody's doing. We did one of our breakout sessions. We did, it was Geoff and I and 2 of our students had all 4 banjos, and our goal was for one person in the group to be playing melody, one person to be playing a chop melody so that didn't go away, to mimic what a mandolin would be doing, and then one person to be rolling at any given time to keep the momentum of the tune going. And then the 4th person had to pick out what range we were singing in and or the instrumentalist was playing in, and go to the opposite end of that to make sure that there was balance. And then at the end of each time we played through, then that swapped. So you were constantly having to listen, because you were either going to be playing the melody, the chop, or a rolling pattern, or finding that 4th area where the balance is, and you had to be listening the whole entire time to be able to do that. So listening to what everybody's doing, not just getting into the jam session and just playing your tune. You have to listen to everything that's going on. And then the other part that is, as we kind of were talking about a little bit ago with the chord changes, in addition to that, even though you definitely want to hit the chord changes at the correct time, even more important is to always play in time. So you're listening to the bass, you're listening to the mandolin on that off chop, you're listening to what the singer is singing, so that you can catch the lyrics and know when the chord changes need to happen. But everything has to happen in time. Even if for some reason you accidentally miss a chord change occasionally, you do not want to break time. So that was those were the 2 main things that I kind of feel like we really drove home on that particular banjo clinic.
So make timing a priority.
Yeah,
It's really the key. Some people make learning the lead solos a priority,
right.
But timing is far more important than anything else. There's so many different things we discussed that we will, as far as what the banjo does, I'm going to play different things while David's singing the song. So he'll sing it, there'll be a break, and what I'm going to do, the Blue Ridge Cabin Home has 8 measures, so the first 4 measures I'll play one break, one style. The next I'll play a different one. So in the first break I'll play with no chords. The second break I'll add chords, and then you'll just have to see what happens on the next break. So,
you want to go through the whole tune maybe and give you an opportunity to do
yeah,
that?
I'll do all kind of stuff.
Let's do that. Go ahead and give us an intro break.
Okay, so let's assume that we're in a jam session and we're kind of a beginner. I'm just going to play some rolls, and David will provide the chords. So.
There's a well-beaten path on this old mountainside where I wandered when I was a lad, and I wandered alone to the place I call home, those Blue Ridge hills far away. Oh, I love those hills of old Virginia. From those Blue Ridge hills I did roam. When I die, won't you bury me on the mountain, far away in my Blue Ridge Mountain home?
Now with chords. Placeholder break.
Now my thoughts wander back to the ramshackle shack in those Blue Ridge hills far away. There my mother and dad are laid down to rest. They're sleeping in peace together there. Oh, I love those hills of old Virginia. From those Blue Ridge hills I did wrong. When I die, won't you bury me on the mountain, far away in my Blue Ridge Mountain home?
Lex. No melody. Now, Earl Scruggs.
I return to that old mountain home where they sigh. I've been longing for days gone by. When I die, won't you bury me on that old mountainside? Make my resting place upon the hill so high. Oh, I love those hills of old Virginia. From those Blue Ridge hills I did wrong. When I die, won't you bury me on the mountain, far away in my Blue Ridge Mountain home?
Okay, so that's basically it. That covers a lot of things we talked about in the clinic. If you, for any reason, have any interest in these clinics, if you're not part of this one, you can always find me through Banjo Compass, banjocompass.com. And if you'll scroll down, you can either call the company and they'll find me, or if you really look, you'll find my cell phone number. And this includes if you want any information about banjo. If you just have a question, even if you don't buy anything, it doesn't matter. If you have a question, I'll be more than happy to attempt to answer it. And in some cases, you're looking for a banjo, and once again, you have questions. Is this a good banjo? What's the banjo best suited for me? And we actually sell a few banjos, and I'll be happy to talk to you and talk about what you should expect, how much you should expect to pay, what to look for in a banjo, stuff like that. David, do you have any closing words?
I think you pretty much covered it. I would like to encourage everybody who sees these videos to really consider doing a banjo clinic. You get to be around a lot of people who are either beginners or people who have been playing and they're continuing to learn. So they're very beneficial, and I think you ought to consider doing them.
Okay, and sometimes we have guest people come, and we were really lucky this time because Curtis Jones, if you look up Curtis Jones on the internet, he's one of the most extraordinary guitar players on the planet. He came and did an hour session, which was partly entertainment, but I think educational. He let us play with him. And Dave Peterson of 1946 was in town, and he stopped by, and we played with him, and the students got to see exactly how the different instruments did.
Yeah.
So that's it. And if you have any questions, just give me a call. And if you want to talk to David, give me a call, and I'll give you his phone number, and we'll go from there.
Why don't you
See you later.
Why don't you play it out with a little once or twice through with John Hardy?
Okay.
Real
Oh, turn off the camera now. Here, hold the banjo, David.